Friends, in today's video, we are going to reveal something that has shaken the whole world. Just imagine the same ordinarily black sand that people walk over on the seashores without giving it a second thought. What if it suddenly turned into pure gold? Yes, this is not a story or a fable, but a real revolution that Burkina Faso's bold leader, Ibrahim Traoré, has turned into reality. But the question is, how did he do it? And why couldn't the rest of the world benefit from it? First, we must understand, what exactly is this black sand? At first glance, it looks like nothing more than ordinary sand, lying in layers along the seashores, no different from mud or gravel. But in reality, hidden inside every grain of this sand is a treasure humanity ignored for centuries. Each particle of this sand carries traces of iron, titanium, and most importantly, gold. The particles of gold are so tiny that the human eye cannot even see them. And that is why for thousands of years, people dug deep mines, broke mountains, and sifted riverbeds in search of gold, yet never realized that this very black sand was itself a hidden mine. Ibrahim Traoré discovered the secret that the world had overlooked. He understood that real wealth is not always buried deep underground. It sometimes lies right before our eyes, waiting to be recognized. And this recognition was about to change the destiny of Burkina Faso forever. He thought to himself, if China could change global trade with a single thread of silk, if Middle Eastern nations could dominate the world economy with their oil reserves, then why can't Africa astonish the world with its black sand? This was the vision that put him on a new path, a dream that others thought was madness. But for him, it was the only way to pull his people out of poverty and place Burkina Faso among the strong nations of the world. He made a firm decision. This black sand would not be left to waste. He would turn it into gold and use it to bring prosperity to his nation. So Traoré began searching for a way to extract gold from every single grain of sand. There were already many ancient and modern techniques, but the most effective involved a combination of magnetism and chemistry. First, he used powerful magnets to separate out the iron and other heavy minerals. This left behind the particles that still carried traces of gold. But the real breakthrough came when he created a secret chemical solution. This solution wasn't ordinary or simple. It was prepared in a special ratio under a precise degree of heat. And when poured onto the sand, it dissolved everything else, but left the gold untouched in its pure form. Friends, once the tiny gold particles are separated from the black sand, the story doesn't end there. In fact, that is where the real process begins. Through magnets, iron and other impurities are separated. After this process, the remaining material shows gold more clearly. Then comes the stage of refining, that is, making the gold pure. For this, there are two main methods. One is melting the gold with fire to remove impurities, and the other is a chemical process in which gold is placed in a special solution and purified through electric current. By combining both methods, gold is produced that is pure enough to be used in jewelry, banks, or the global market. Throughout this entire process, one thing is given special attention: environmental protection. In the old days, when mountains were cut and chemicals were poured into water, both the soil and the air were polluted. But now, when plants are established, systems are built in such a way that waste does not leak out, water is reused, and harmful substances are prevented from escaping. It should also be noted that after every batch, the gold is tested to check its purity. These tests are carried out in laboratories, and if any deficiency is found, the gold is refined again. That is why, in the end, the gold that comes out is often more than 99% pure. This process is not just about producing gold, but also about creating employment. When small plants are set up in villages and towns, people receive training. Young men and women find jobs, and an entire new industry rises. Thus, the rocks that were once considered useless now become the source of livelihood for thousands of families. Friends, understand this. Processing gold is not easy. It demands labor, precision, and caution. A single mistake could waste the gold and harm the environment. But if done properly, this same gold can become the path of prosperity for Burkina Faso and a new revolution for the world. Viewers, let me also tell you, when the news of Ibrahim Traoré's project reached across the globe, the international gold market shook. In America and Europe, But the miracle of Burkina Faso's desert did not stop there. The campaign that began with planting trees and burying crop residues soon expanded into something far greater. As experience grew, Ibrahim Traoré and his people realized that the desert could offer more than just survival. It could become a source of prosperity. Once the sandy winds were brought under control and fertile soil began to emerge, villagers discovered that the land was now capable of supporting crops that no one ever imagined could grow in the Sahel. Sorghum, millet, and maize began to thrive where once only dunes had stood. Farmers, who had once abandoned their homes in search of greener pastures, returned with hope in their eyes. For the first time in decades, families could harvest enough food not only for themselves but also for the markets. But Traoré's vision was bigger than food security. He encouraged innovation at every level. With fertile soil and healthier crops, the villages began experimenting with new farming techniques like drip irrigation, organic composting, and rotational planting. This gave rise to surplus production, which was then sold in neighboring countries, turning once forgotten villages into small trade hubs. The success of agriculture also inspired women and youth to play a bigger role. Women's cooperatives began producing herbal products, natural oils, and food items that were exported across West Africa. Young people, instead of migrating, invested their energy into building businesses, schools, and clinics in their own communities. The desert was not only greening, it was giving birth to a new social and economic renaissance. But with success came challenges. Environmental experts warned that if not managed carefully, this rapid growth could harm the fragile balance of the ecosystem. Traoré understood this deeply. He launched new policies that emphasized sustainability over greed, plant only what the land can handle, harvest only what nature can give back, and always keep the cycle of renewal alive. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso's desert transformation became a model for Africa and the world. International organizations came to study this miracle of the Sahel. They saw how an idea that started with burying dry stalks in the sand had blossomed into fertile farmland, thriving communities, and a vision of hope. And so what was once a barren desert of despair became a living, breathing example of human resilience. A land that had been declared dead had been revived by the will, determination, and creativity of its people. Led by Ibrahim Traoré. The story of Burkina Faso's desert teaches us one thing. With courage, vision, and unity, even the harshest lands can bloom again. Please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Thank you.